Hi everyone. Today I wanted to introduce and show off my first free and open source plugin release. It's called Fresh Powder, and it is a fun and unique take on bit crushing. I'll be going through what it does and how to use it today here in this little demo. If you want to cut to the chase, if you look in the description, there's a link to the plugin right now. You can even try it on a live web demo right now without having to download anything at all. If you don't want to hear me yap about this, just go click the link in the description and try it out now. But if you stick around, I'll show you how to use it and some cool things about it. So first off, I have this drum loop here. I'm going to play it real quick so you can hear what it sounds like unprocessed. So I'll turn off Fresh Powder. Okay, so your typical amen break. Everyone's heard it a million times. But now let's try crushing it a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to mess around with is this downsample knob here. This will sample your audio at a lower sample rate. Typically your DAW or your audio device samples audio at 44.1, 48, maybe even 96 kilohertz. This knob will turn that down to a fraction of that. So let's try turning this knob down to, let's say, 7,000-ish hertz. See what that sounds like. So right there you heard it, much more lo-fi, much more crushed, a little bit of distortion in there because it's clipping off waveforms. So a lot of fun on its own. Every bit crusher does this, obviously. The next thing pretty much every bit crusher does is this bits knob here. So right now I have it set to 16. That means that the bit depth, the total number of values that the waveform can take, is 2 to the 16. But if we turn this down to like, let's say 3 bits, real quick, I'm going to jump to these controls in the top here. This is your input and output knobs. You're probably going to need to use them because bit crushing can introduce kind of a more clipped nature to your waveform, which makes it louder. So let's turn it down a little bit. That's better. Now that we have bit crushing set up, let's play with some of the unique features of Fresh Powder here. The first I want to point out is the cutoff knob here. This cutoff knob makes it so that the bit crushing is only applied to frequencies above whatever you set here. So it's default to 0. Let's set it to like 200 hertz. So you might not hear much now, so let's turn the bits back up. Let's hear what that sounds like. So if I turn the cutoff knob back down, not a huge difference yet. So I'll turn the cutoff to 0. I'll turn the bits to 16, and I'll downsample all the way to like 2,500 hertz. Now it sounds like an old NES game or something, right? But let's turn the cutoff knob up to something like 200 hertz and see what that sounds like. Interesting. So you can even turn it higher. Now I have it at about 1,000 hertz. It preserves those kick drum hits, so they come through quite a lot more cleanly. And this is really nice because sometimes when you're bit crushing, those kick drum hits can get really harsh. So if I turn the cutoff off and I turn this down a lot more, so you hear those kick drums have that kind of high-pitched, squealy, squelchy sound to them. If I turn the cutoff back up to like here, now they come through a lot more cleanly, and it's a bit more of a subtle effect. I think this is very nice and musical, and it could be very useful if you don't necessarily want to completely destroy your signal, but you want some lo-fi character. Let's look at the drive knob now. This one's fairly straightforward, just adds analog style saturation or drive to your signal. And again, it only applies to frequencies above the cutoff. It's just like a little lo-fi now, right? Let's turn that drive up. It's a little more distorted, right? And I mean, you can really blow it out with this. And if we turn that cutoff down, we get those like kind of harsher kick hits again. So a lot of interesting stuff you can do even with just these 4 knobs here. So if we turn our cutoff back up, turn our drive up, those high frequencies are now quite a bit louder than the rest of the signal. So sometimes we want to recover those low frequencies that we're splitting out, and that's what the low boost knob does. Turn that up. You can boost those frequencies that are split out so they can catch up to the now probably louder, saturated, or bit crushed higher frequencies. I'm going to turn the drive knob off and the low boost knob off for now. I'll keep these about where they are, maybe turn the downsample up a bit, and we'll go to where the fun begins, which is this dynamic mode section. If we turn it on, this graph and these 2 knobs turn on, and if we play the audio, we can see that the downsample knob is now reacting to this envelope, the signal that's going into it. And we can change where that happens with this threshold knob. So let's turn the threshold knob a little further up. So now you can see the downsample is just barely reacting to these peaks. Let's turn it down a bit. I think this is a pretty cool effect on its own, but you can really get into the weeds experimenting with it. So what I like to do is turn the downsample around to like 10 or 11,000 hertz and set this threshold so that it just hits the bottom of your peaks. And I think that gets like a cool effect where you're only kind of clamping down on the strongest parts of the signal, but everything is being crushed a little bit. And you can play with this strength knob here to determine how strong that dynamic effect is. At higher levels, pretty much everything gets completely pulled down all the way. Lastly, you can turn the speed to slow for a slower reaction time, or you can use it on melodic signals as well as things like drums. So even this sounds pretty good on its own. But anyway, you can try it on anything. Try it on drums, try it on a guitar, try it on a vocal line, try it on anything. I think there's a lot of opportunities here. Again, totally free. Check it out in the description. Thanks, everyone.